All right? All right, so I see the screen showing the pace like this. Are we live, or you want to give me a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 or something?
You don't have to.
No.
Here we go.
Okay.
All right, we're back. Welcome to the afternoon session, the Up to the Challenge session. You know, a few years back, I started doing some teachings, and I started calling them Up to the Challenge because I wanted people to understand the things that they may need to have as tools to deal with the challenge that is this walk and is this life, you know? And in these sessions, we've talked about things like finances, we've talked about personality things, we've talked about all kinds of things. And so today I want to go through some things. I don't know, depending on how many people are here from the different categories and groups. I know I've promised to talk to the singles. All right, how many singles are in here? All right, so we got quite a few, which is good. Okay, so we'll start with that. We'll see if we have time. If I don't have time to deal also with the parenting, teenager, dating question, we may schedule that at another point and see where we can squeeze that in. Perhaps at the beginning of my midrash, which will take all day, pretty much on Friday, or whenever I have it scheduled on the schedule, Thursday or Friday. So, I guess it was Thursday. Anyway, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the singles. All right? Okay. You guys, you're on your own. Okay, next subject. Well, first of all, let me say this. I know, so you can relate, right? I know what it's like to be single in this walk, all right? I mean, I was a believer in Messiah and a Torah observer from age 20, can't remember, 22, 23, till I got married at 35, okay? Single for those 12 years, 12, 13 years. In the walk, believing in Messiah. So, and I also know what it's like then to have a very small pond to fish in, so to speak. And that's my first point, I guess, is that don't worry about how many people there are in it. You only need one. Okay? I mean, just let's do the math on that. You don't need a room with 600 singles. You need one, the one that's for you. Okay? And in my case, I started off in a church that was probably over about 700 plus people, 800 people. And we had lots of singles, all guys. I thought Yahweh had an interesting sense of humor. Actually, that's not true. There were some ladies, but they were all in their 30s up, and we were a bunch of guys in our low 20s. That group wasn't interested in us. We weren't interested in them. Okay? And so it was just one of those challenging things. But yet, the one for you that he has laid out for you is there. They may show up at a feast. They may end up moving to your area where you are. You just don't know how it's going to play out. But I want to talk about some things that you really should know as you're planning to go through these things so you do it the right way. Because I get a lot of you to come and counsel with me. So some of this, for those few of you that have counseled with me about it, you'll remember these things that I've said before. But just to kind of give you my story with that, just to show you how it can play out, I had in that journey, the church I had gone to had basically broken up, and there was all these kind of chaoses and confusions. I had gone off on my own for a period of time, come to decide that Abba's drawn me back and says, you need to get back to your walk and focus in life. And so I sought the largest remnant of that group that I could find. There was one in Florida where I was in Tampa, and they were in Clearwater, right across the way. So I called up and said, look, can I get the pastor's numbers? I can find out, where they meet and everything that's going on. They gave me the number. I called up. They gave me all the information. I said, look, I used to attend over here and this and that. And they said, okay, great, you can come. This is where we are. And I don't know why, but just I threw it out there at the end of the conversation. And by the way, do you have any single ladies in the congregation? They're probably wondering, oh, okay, so he's got the right approach. I know why he's coming. So they said, sure, one. So I'm thinking, oh, the one that's left. The one nobody wanted. I mean, that one. And so, and of course, when I tell the story, my wife was like, and you were still single too, and nobody wanted you, so be quiet. And I was older. So there you go. But there really was only one single, and it wasn't that I only picked my wife because she was the only available one. This was the one for me. But there didn't need to be more. Okay? There could have been a lot more. And if she was there, she still would have been the one for me. But I want you to not think about, you look around and go, but there's nobody for me. Not today. I had a lot of years of that. I know what it feels like. I got married only once. I know a lot of people out there think that that's not the case, because when I did the divorce teaching, they thought it was my justifying previous marriages and divorces. I've only had one wife. I don't want another one. I like the one I got. I'm quite content and happy. Okay? But I didn't get this relationship till I was 35 years old. So don't lose hope. Some of you are younger than that. Some of you are older than that. It's irrelevant. We've had people come to our feast. I had a gentleman come to the feast. He was 65 when I met him. It was the next year. I guess he must have been 66. A woman came to that feast. They hit it off. They got married. She was a little older than him, so I think she was closer to 70, and they got married. 66, 67, and she was about 70. You just don't know. We've got at least 2 or 3 couples that I could think of off the top of my head that met at Sukkot or Passovers that I've done, and that I ended up doing their weddings. Okay? See, that doesn't mean like, oh, we'll just come to Sukkot and you'll meet somebody. No. There's only, out of all of the Sukkots, there's only 2 or 3 that did meet, and I did their weddings. But it can happen, is my point. Okay? Well, let's talk about what are you doing in the meantime. One of the best messages I ever heard on, given for singles, is I had gone to a singles event within that church that we were going to back in those days, and the whole message was about, are you even marriageable? Okay? I want to get married. Are you ready for marriage? If you're a man, are you ready to provide, make safe, care for, provide for a wife, a family? If you're a woman, are you ready to be the helpmeet, the support to that husband? This world has not taught us how to do that. Culturally, we don't see examples of it. What do you see on TV? You see in most of the sitcoms, the comedy, the shows that are out there, the idiot husband, the intelligent, very competent wife, and all this. They're painting a really horrible picture for us. Although some of you sit there going, yeah, that's the way it is in my house. Okay, so look. It's never going to get any better if you don't believe in it getting better. All right? So you singles. Let's talk about being single then. So first, your number one job, okay, is to not allow your singleness to distract you from your walk. All right? He called you in this state. Paul says things like, I've learned to be whatever state I'm in, to be okay and be happy in that state. And so if you're single, be okay with that. That doesn't mean you shouldn't want to be married, but be okay with the state you're in. Because if we have emunah, Yahweh either causes or allows us to be where we are. And for whatever reason at this point, single is where you are. Okay. And there may be a reason for that. There may be things that are broken because maybe you were married before. Maybe you had some long relationships that went bad. Maybe there was all kinds of other things that are going on that have you really not ready for a proper marriage. And those things need to get cleaned up before you bring that with you into the marriage. Because you're going to bring all of whatever you have with you. It's not automatically like you get married and you think about like packing your bags to go and what are you going to leave behind. All that mess goes with you. There's no packing it. It's already in you. Unless you unpack it beforehand, process it, and deal with it, you're bringing it with you. And so I want you to focus on becoming, if you're a woman, the best possible helpmeet bride for a man when he comes around. And if you're a man, I want you to be working towards and practicing and developing all the skill sets to be the man in that house. Not the man, but the man. In other words, these women out here, okay, we're going to talk about both sides, these women out here want to find a man. Okay? Not a boss, not a bully, not a wimp, not a guy who's lazy. They want a man. Okay? And the world does not have a lot of these right now. And men, the men want a woman. They don't want a mother. They don't want a boss. Okay? They want a woman. Problem is, society has completely blurred all of that, so we don't even really understand what one is, what a man is or what a woman is. Okay? And we're not going to cover that today in this short little time. But we will at some point hopefully get to cover that a whole lot more. But the basics, okay, the basics is that the man's role is to provide for the physical needs, emotional needs, spiritual. He leads his wife and his family. He provides safety and security. Women are designed to feel insecure if those things are not there, to feel unsafe, to be upset, to be nervous, to be... You must, as a man, you want a happy marriage, make her feel safe, provided for, and secure. You can clap. Some of the married people that happen to be in the room, if you want to know why some of the problems you have at home are that way, because those things, something's missing. One or more of those things, you're dropping the ball. I don't know why my wife is always upset, because she doesn't feel safe, secure, provided for, whatever. On one of those things. Now let's take the other side of it. Okay? For the men, we are designed to be believed in, to be proud of. Okay? We are there to be supported, encouraged. Because if we're going to go out there and risk everything and put ourselves on the line to keep you safe, we need to know that you're there going, I love you, I believe in you, I'm proud of you, you go get it, you get it done, and support that. Okay? So while we talked about security on the one side, I guess the other word on the other side would be respect. I respect the effort you're putting in. I respect that you go out there and get it done. I respect that you provide safety for myself and my children, whatever that is. Okay? But also, ladies, understand that if you have an upset man, it's almost always because you have shifted into mother or boss mode, or whining complainer and criticizer. And this is really tough. All right? I've listened to some programs and my wife has gotten some programs that we're looking to use maybe to help for the singles, for the men and the women. And she's looking at the women's programs, and almost every one of them says the same thing. This doesn't go well, ladies, when you start to treat them like you're their mother or treat them like you're their boss. Okay? It's hard though, because so many of you women, we go back to the colors and the personality stuff, so many of you have a lot of blue. And the blue tends to be the rescuer. If it's not getting done, I'm going to jump in and get it done. Because otherwise something bad will happen. It's not like the red who will say, well, I can get it done and just go get it done. We don't care so much from the point of view that if I don't do it, something bad will happen. Because if something bad happens, the red just figures they'll fix it. You guys want to make sure anything bad that could happen doesn't happen. Okay? Nothing bad should ever happen. It should all be preventable. So let's make every effort to make sure nothing ever goes wrong. All right? Guys, you need to know that's their mindset. Ladies, you need to know the other side's mindset. But ladies, if you get into that place, and you can deal with it now as a single, all right? If you get to that place, you have to allow it to go wrong. Let him fix it. Let him handle it. Trust him to take care. But. You can't usurp that. But if you can't start to practice and figure that out now, how are you going to do it in the marriage? So you're like, well, how do I get to practice it now? Well, get under a covering like me and say, I need somebody I can work with that can help me make sure that I'm not in that controlling mode. Watch yourself at work. At work, are you submissive? I don't care if your boss is a woman or a man. Are you treating them with the authority, or are you usurping by jumping in where you don't belong? Look at the structures that you're in where you can make sure, am I trusting and allowing that person to lead? Yeah, but they're terrible. It's okay. Let them. How are they ever going to learn if you keep jumping in? And I'm telling you, you already know this, they're not liking it when you do it. All right? From the men's side, recognize that that's the way women think. Don't give them reason to not trust that you can handle it. So when those things start to go south, you have to be able to reassure, learn to reassure, hey, it's okay. I've got it. I'll take care of it. If it doesn't work, I'll fix it. Okay? So you're going to need to go through a process as you're going through the single thing of growing into the leader, from the men's side, the leader, the strength. You know what women like the most? It's not always your sense of humor, your good looks, and everything else. Your confidence in your competence. Okay? They want a confident man. A man that, when they see him, he knows where he's going. He knows what he's doing, even if it looks like he makes mistakes, but he knows what he's doing. He has a plan. Guys, I hope you're listening. Okay, ladies, am I right? Okay. All right? Okay, 6 of you thought it was right. Okay. It's been a long day already, I know. All right? But guys, you need to know that they need to see from you more than just going to any old job that's not paying the bills, coming home, drinking a beer, and watching TV. Okay? Guys, I'm going to deal with you first here. If you are, and I'm not picking on anybody, if you are looking at your income, you should be asking this question: am I struggling to live on it? And if the answer is yes, how are 2 or more going to live on it? Oh, well, my wife's going to work. Certainly she can. But in my opinion, if you're doing your job, she shouldn't have to. Okay? Because there's things that you would like her to be doing at home, supporting you and being there so that when you come home to take care of you and that kind of thing. And if there's children, to take care of them. And the more the world's going south, you're not going to want to put your kids in public school. You're not going to want to do these kind of things if you're at the age where you're still going to go ahead and have children. But men, if you're struggling to live singly on your stuff, how do you think it's going to work with more than one? Oh, I live just fine. Okay, let's look at your lifestyle. Your car is held together by tape, okay, and glue, all right? Your apartment has 3 pieces of furniture, and you've got a plate, a cup, and a set of utensils. I'm exaggerating, okay? That was me, actually, when I first was single. My car actually had a cloth liner on the inside that I had held up by staples, because it had a piece of like cardboard, whatever, that cardboard stuff underneath it, between that and the metal roof. And I went around, there was like 100 staples keeping that thing up. The ladies were very impressed. Picked them up in that, oh yeah. Actually, by the time I met my wife, I had a Mustang Convertible, a whole different deal, okay? And it's because it gives the message across of success, okay? And so you got to be looking at yourself. If you were a woman, would you think you were a catch? All right? Put yourself in their shoes. I mean, after all, you want them to marry you. Look what they get. Don't worry, ladies. I'm going to pick on you after this. You're laughing now. Okay? But guys, your job now as a single is to become a catch. Become a man of Yah who can provide for his wife and family and have them be safe, not fearing. You know what? When you don't have enough money at the end of the month, that woman does not feel safe or secure. When she's worried that the car's not going to work and the things aren't going to get fixed and somebody might repossess something or whatever. You don't have to be a millionaire, but you have to have enough to provide the life that you and your bride may want to have. Whatever that level may be. Okay? So guys, you really need to look at yourself and say, look, I know I don't like being single. And you're looking at the ladies trying to figure out, you know, is there anybody out there you might be interested in or what? But you know what? Look at yourself first. What are you offering? What are you bringing to the table? I'm a nice guy. Well, good. That's a nice piece of the puzzle. You need to be a nice guy. They're not going to want to marry someone who's not a nice guy. I get that. But are you doing the other things? How is your walk? Are they going to be able to see, I don't know, when they look at you, did you have your seat on? Do you show up to services every week? Are you at the feasts? I mean, do they see you volunteering to help wherever you can do that? What do they see you doing in terms of your walk? Ladies, let me ask you a question. When you're in a place and there's a bunch of guys, are you paying attention to what they're doing? Do you see the guys? If you're thinking about maybe looking at a guy a little bit more than twice and say, let me just see how he's doing, what he's doing. Are you paying attention to how he's groomed and the things he does? And does he have his seat and does he show up every week? Are you looking at those things? Say it louder. Yeah. Guys, did you hear that? Okay? They're paying attention. You pay attention too. You're looking them over and checking them out and seeing if they're showing up and seeing, you know, whatever else is you're looking. Because we're not just looking only at looks. We're trying to evaluate a life partner. And it'd be great then when you do start talking to each other if you have a lot in common and you got things to, and that's also part of the deal. But you know what? There are some of you that will never get that far because you will get looked at, and this goes both ways, and you're going to be dismissed right there. And it's not just going to be because of looks. It's going to be about the way you carry yourself, the way they see you talking to other people, the impression in general that you give in the observable world when you're in a public space. How do they see you? I'm talking to the guys still. How do they see you when you interact with other people, especially the ladies? How coarse is your language? How flirty are you? Because that may feel like that's going well with the one lady you're flirting with, but if she's thinking of marrying you and seeing you doing that with everybody, she's like, I'm not marrying somebody that flirts with everybody. And so realize that you are being evaluated and watched just like you're evaluating and watching others in the single world. Okay? Any questions about that so far? We should have a mic to go around if there are. Anything on that? We're good so far? Okay. So, take it to the next step. This is a challenge. We've lost a few people over this. The challenge is, excuse me, I got a lozenge. I'm not sick, but talking too much is something I'm not supposed to do. That's been my whole life. And so mechanically, it wears my throat out. Okay, look. Being single, the challenge is that you will absolutely have an opportunity to run into somebody not in this walk that will tempt you, who seems wonderful, successful, perfect, or at least certainly good enough, especially compared to no other choices. We've had people leave because they met somebody outside and they weren't inside. Let's talk about that a little bit. I counsel a lot. And easily 90% of it is marriage problems. Easily. Okay? And most of the marriage problems are because they didn't have anybody to help them get into the marriage, so they didn't know what to do when they got into the marriage, and now they're stuck and they're not sure how to get out of it or how to stay in it. And often enough, one and not the other is covenanted, or one and not the other is submitted in the structure. So what happens when we have that situation is that there really isn't anybody that they can both go to that would have enough authority to say, hey, knock it off. Or, hey, listen, she's right. Or, hey, listen, he's right. Or you need to make that adjustment. There's nobody to guide or counsel them that they'll both listen to. Okay? So my encouragement is this, and some of you singles have had me tell you this already. You are, I don't know how I want to say, I was going to say you are out of your mind. The other word came was foolish, but I think I'll go with out of your mind. I think you are absolutely out of your mind to date and marry anybody that isn't, before you meet them, already in this walk and submitted to your teacher. That is your safest move. Okay? That's for the ladies, especially. Ladies, do not find a man that is not, because you're all thinking, oh, I talked to him and he seemed okay about what I was doing and he just wants you. He'll say anything. Do you not know? Right? None of you are like that young, maybe one or two. The rest of you are old enough to know these guys are going to say whatever they need to get that either ring on your finger and get you in the sack. Let's not mince words. Oh, that thing, that Torah thing, that's fine. Sure. And then you come to me and go, oh, he seems all excited and he's going to come in. Nonsense. Okay? I've almost never seen that happen. You know what I've seen happen? A good friend of mine get wrecked, and I mean wrecked to the point where he never got married ever again after this, because he was in the same place I was when I started off in Worldwide Church of God, met a girl, convinced himself that she was all excited. She came in for 5 minutes. She even got baptized. They got married and then got divorced within a few months and ruined his life. She really had no interest except she wanted him. And then when it became clear that that's all she wanted and was never coming through that, he ended up saying, I can't keep this going with you. This is my life. He was deceived by her. And he didn't get over that. He was very blue. So really, you know, if there's anything that's important to a blue, it's loyalty. You deceive a blue, you're done. Blues agree? Okay? All right? I tell the story how I was going to maybe buy a timeshare, went through the whole presentation, and at the very end, we're about to sign the contract, and they snuck in the fees. They never talked about the fees. And my wife was like, she was surprised as a blue. And she said, forget it, we're done. So they tried bringing other salesmen. I said, time out, hold on. You don't understand. It's over. You pulled a fast one on a blue. Done. Let's just shake hands and say goodbye. You blew it, and that's the end of it. Oh, no, go ahead, try. It's a waste of time. Okay? Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. Okay? If you want the most chance for safety and guidance and an ability to have anything that can go wrong be guided and counseled and helped in some way, you cannot pick a man that's not A, already in this, and B, submitted the same as you are under the same authority. It's absolutely lunacy to do that. I'm just telling you. It's a recipe for nothing good happening. It just can't go well. You can listen, you can ignore me, you can just think I'm trying to be controlling. I don't care who it is. I don't care if you're with somebody else. All right? I'm doing a wedding at the end of April. I talked about the young lady today. She actually called me just to solidify some of the plans. Okay? She is marrying a gentleman who was not initially under me, but he was in this walk. And when I counseled them for marriage, we did it over video Zoom. She was from Canada, he's in California. When we did it by video Zoom, I said, you two need to make a decision before I work with you that you need to counsel under whoever you're going to be under. But you need to be under the same authority. And they chose me. I didn't care. They needed to understand, though, together you must agree how you're walking, who your teacher is, and who's going to have authority to deal with any mess that comes up sometime in your marriage. This is critical. And I know the temptation is going to happen. You're going to meet some guy or some lady outside of here, and you're going to start hitting it off, and it's all great. And you got all these things in common except this. Except this is the main thing. There isn't anything more important than this. All right? Better to stay single than jeopardize the walk and your covenant and your place in the body. Don't fall for that. Okay? I've had a person that I can specifically think of in my head who was here, is no longer here, and that was the problem. She met somebody outside. And I said, no. I didn't say, you can't. I said, no, don't do it. It's a bad idea. It was compounded because I think he was still married, too. And I said, you're out of your mind. Oh, no, he's getting a divorce. Yeah, right. Okay. You've all heard that before, right? But what was the birthing of that behavior? Hating being single. Being lonely. It's hard, okay? I hated being single. I was not the player, young, single guy that just loved being single. I wanted to get married as soon as I understood what it meant to just go ahead and have one person, not play those. I didn't want to deal with any of that stuff. I just wanted that one person and be done. Okay? And I was like, that's fine. We'll make you wait till you're 35. Now, granted, I must admit, I wasn't ready till 35. I wasn't marriageable. I was an entrepreneur. I had lots of businesses. Some did well, some didn't do so well. My finances were like a giant roller coaster. I wasn't stable. All right, guys, women want stability, predictability. They want to know that they can have, this is the way life is, and I'm not going to have any big surprises like next week and tomorrow and whatever. Yes, ladies? All right? And so you need to be that solid, predictable rock. That's why they love when they come into this. Yeshua is a rock. Yahweh they're unchangeable, they're dependable. You know what you're getting. It's never going to change. They love that. That's why sometimes the ladies get it before the guys do. Okay? So guys, your goal is to become Yeshua-like, dependable, reliable, predictable. Your word is going to be kept. You say you're going to do something, ladies, they'll tell you. You want to really frustrate them, disappoint them, keep telling them you're going to do something and never do it. Oh, they love that. Oh, yeah, you've been saying that for years. I'm not believing a word of it. Don't look at your spouse like that. I caught you. Some of the married ladies like looking over their husbands and stuff. She's like, yeah, I've said that, haven't I? Okay? Guys, you need to mean what you say. You got to learn and practice as a single. If you say it, you need to do it. Otherwise, don't say it. Billy has a role as the assistant executive director. And one of the things he talks to the staff about all the time is be careful that you don't overcommit and underproduce. Okay? Because everybody likes to look good saying, I got it, I'll handle it, I'll make it happen, and then nothing happens. Okay? Don't overcommit. Don't run your mouth and talk big, talk all kinds of stuff, and then you don't produce. Rather say a whole lot less and overproduce. Undercommit and overproduce is much better because people are impressed with, wow, I didn't expect you to do all that. I did, but I didn't tell you. I said I'll do this, and I was fully intending to give you more. But if I didn't get it done, I'm not in trouble now. Okay? So be careful with what you say, with what you commit to. Gentlemen, okay? But the thing that I think needs to be understood from the most clarity in dealing with the guys, before I switch to the ladies here in a second, is you have to understand your role as provider. Okay? It's not too late to redirect your career. As a matter of fact, your first question should be, do I have a career or do I have a job? They're not the same. Well, I've been doing the same job for 15 years. That's still not a career. It depends on what you're doing, okay? And you got to look at yourself and say, okay, I was making X number of dollars an hour when I was 20, and now I'm making X number of dollars plus 2. That's not much progress if you're now 40 and you started at your 20, okay? You have to really start aiming higher. You know what? Ladies want to be on, attached to someone who's looking higher, aiming higher, striving for more. I don't mean like greedy gain. I mean, but if someone who's going someplace and they want to be connected with successful people. They want a successful man. What is success? He's got his life in order and he can pay his bills and take care of his things. That's it. It doesn't have to be he's got $1 million and he's making $150 a year and whatever. No. He's got his life in order. He can take care of his stuff and what he's responsible for and anybody else he's responsible for. And he keeps everybody taken care of and safe. He knows who he is. That's a real big one. A lot of you guys, you still don't know who you are. And the ladies are so frustrated. They meet you and they're like, how can I marry you? You don't even know who you are to be married to. You got to know who you are, know where you're going, know what you want, know how to get there. And you're thinking, I don't know any of that stuff. So get counsel and help. Nobody's born knowing all of that stuff. We provide a lot of help. I mean, Billy and I and George, the three of us, can provide you with a ton of help to get your life right. Whether it's jobs, finances, whatever. Goal setting, figuring out, well, I don't know what I want. Any of the things that we ever do counseling-wise, and that includes this sort of little thing about singles, has got to start with, you got to know what you want. You got to know what you don't want. I'm not just talking about from a Torah point of view. That should already be there. You know what you don't want because Torah says no. You know what you want because Torah says yes. Okay. No, but what is your personal preference within those parameters? What do you want? Well, I just want whatever God wants for... Stop that. That's all Christian, weak, lazy thinking, whatever. That's because you do not want to own the responsibility of your choices. Well, I just want to do whatever's right. Stop. This happens a lot of times when people ask me about moving here. I go, well, do you want to move here? Well, I don't know. Well, figure that out first. Why are you even thinking about moving here if you don't know if you even want to? Well, I'm just trying to follow whatever God... Stop that. You got 3 gods in your head talking to you. Only one really is God. All right? You and Hasatan and Yahweh are all trying to talk to you. Figure out what you want. Most of what we're talking about are things, he doesn't care whether you get a Chevy or a Ford or a foreign car or not. He doesn't care what color it is. He may just want you to get transportation that works better than the clunker you got now. That's dangerous and doesn't necessarily have a reliability to it. In other words, you have some independent, unique preferential choices you can make. You can decide I want someone older or younger. I can want someone taller or shorter. I can want somebody whatever. I like them with a beard or without a beard, ladies. I like the ladies with long hair or short. I mean, you can have preferences. Well, I just want whatever God wants. He doesn't care about that. He wants you to make choices. That's why you're here. So since ladies are going to be evaluating you men, and vice versa, but we're talking about the men right now, how about trying to become the best possible choice? Think about your hygiene. Think about your dressing and how you dress. I mean, listen, some of you need to think about your hygiene, all right? Because some of you don't think to make sure that you're well groomed. Some of you might need to deodorize more than once. Or put a mint in your mouth. Because some of you talk to people and eyebrows are falling off. You know. Are you sad? No, your breath is just melting my face. Okay? And some of you have friends that are willing to tell you. Okay? All right? We might ask you to put the masks back on. But we need to look at things as simple as that. All right? All right, ladies, your turn. Some of the stuff applies to you too. Well, I'd like to find a man. Have you seen yourself in the mirror lately? Are you dressing in a way that is meant to be appropriately attractive, but not, overly exposing or showy, but that you're actually paying? Because some people have just given up and they just be as frumpy as can be and they don't care and they don't. But are you looking to put your best self out there? I just picked on the guys for the same thing. Okay? This is a question. Some of you, by the way, if some of you are married out here, just realize your spouses are still looking at that too. I mean, don't think, well, I got him already or I got her already. I don't need to care about that anymore. No, they like it when you dress nicer and clean up. Amen, right? Okay. You hear that? Guys, the ladies like it when you spend a few extra seconds to clean it up and some of you guys clean up pretty good. Actually, all of you clean up pretty good if you would go ahead and clean it up. But, we just figure, but nobody likes me anyway, and there's no other singles, so I'll just kind of, give the motorcycle a chance to go by. Okay, so, don't dress like you're ready to go to Walmart. Dress like you're not sure you're going to meet that person today. Okay? Because you might meet that person and think, why did I wear this? And now you want to avoid them, hoping they'll come back again and you could dress a little differently. Or put your hair a little different, or whatever it is that you were doing. Because wouldn't you know, they were the guests that showed up that Shabbat. And you're like, sure, today they had to show up. Oh, no. You don't know when that's going to happen. I had no idea. I had zero expectation that the one person in that congregation would be the one person I needed. No idea. And wouldn't you know, I didn't get to actually meet her for almost a month or two because nobody introduced us. The few times I saw her walking, holding hands of a 3-year-old girl who I thought was her daughter. I just thought it was a mother and a daughter. So once I saw that, I didn't pay her any attention. I wasn't going to pay attention to a married woman. So it wasn't until later that finally now she knew who I was because I was the only new person in the congregation. And they had told her there was a new single guy. But I didn't know who she was because I didn't know anybody. And so I just figured, I don't know. So finally, her brother-in-law grabbed us both and introduced us. Which was funny because I was like, so you're the famous Julie. Yeah, you're the famous Steve. Okay, because we had already heard about each other and never met. But the thing that you have to understand is, ladies, okay? Are you ready to submit to and trust a man? Oh, I've had all these experiences. I don't know if I can do it. Every man I've ever been with, my father, my brothers, my ex-husband, my boy, whatever has been. But are you ready to find the right one? And can you be ready to submit to that right one when you find him? Because if you've never practiced it, do you think spontaneously you're just going to be good at it when you find the right guy? It doesn't work that way. Okay? Also, for both groups, the more you can get clear on what you're looking for, the more you'll know it when you find it. Okay? You really need to get clear on what you're looking for in the other person. And then you also got to think about the person that I want, what would they be looking for? And am I that? Think about how you are and say, I don't know, would the catch I'm looking for want this personality, this behavior, this way of treating men or whatever? I mean, think about where you are and what you're doing and how that would play out for the other person. This is, when I met my wife, she knew what she was looking for. We went out to dinner, came back to my apartment complex, which had a pool right on Tampa Bay, right on the bay there, and the sun was setting, and we sat on the little lounge chairs there by the pool, and she said to me, all right, because we had only gone out once or twice, she said, don't want to waste any time. No, we're in the same congregation, so we could have stayed friends, but she said, I don't want to waste any time. I need to know now, are you this, 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 this? She had this list. Not written down, but she had it pretty well memorized. If you're not these things, tell me now so that we could just be friends and I'm not going to think about dating you from that point of view. I mean, she knew what she was looking for. Now, I guess I looked good enough for what she was looking for to at least have that conversation, but she needed to know this, and this. I'm looking for a guy who's going to be the leader in my house, the spiritual leader. I'm tired of knowing the Bible better than every guy that I ever meet because my wife knows the Bible really good. You've seen the Parsha Pearl stuff and everything else. She goes, and she went on and on about the thing. And I had to look at her like, okay, I'm all of that. No. Did the, okay. You know, pull up the pants there, like, oh yeah. It's me. Ta-da. No. So, but what I did was I said to her, I said, you know what? That's a great list. I said, and you know what? I'm some of those things, but actually the ones that I'm not are on my own list of things that I've been working on. And you could believe that as a line, I told her, or you could believe it as true. I said, but I'm not all of those things, but I can tell you that there wasn't a thing you said that either I'm not already or isn't on my list of things I'm working towards. Because it was a good list. Okay? And she believed me. And it was true. So it wasn't like I sold her a line. And she appreciated, I think, that honesty about it. Okay? Now, of course, I felt, why don't I have a list? My list was, she's cute. All right. I don't know. Typical guy. She's easy on the eyes. We're good so far. You know. So shallow. Guys just, you know. All right? My list was a little bit more complex than that. Okay? The thing is, I didn't really have a list. I didn't really know what I was looking for. I just knew I didn't want to be single. But then we spent a lot of time together, which is part of the vetting process, and we'll talk about that in a minute more, and we can also talk about the children when we get into that part, is that, you know, you should know what you're looking for so that when you see it and you find it, you know. Now, you may have to vet them out because not everything is obvious in the conversations you may have or just by looking at them and observing them. And that's why she asked me a few things. And she, you know, look, she was 33, I'm 35. We did not want to waste time on people. Said, look, if you're not, I don't want to waste my time. I'm not interested in social dating, is what she was saying. Okay, we can just be friends and hang out if that's what it's going to be. But I need to know, is this going anywhere? Does this have any potential to go anywhere? And I give her a lot of credit for saying that right up front. And it was pretty much right up front. We had just met, you know, very brief. Look, we only knew each other 43 days before we got engaged and 3 days short of 4 months before we got married. Okay, we met May 30th, got married September 27th. That's not much, okay? But people say, wow, that was fast. I said, no, it took 35 years. What are you talking about? Well, because think about it. By the time I was 35, and all of you that are older, you already know a lot of what you don't want. More than you did when you were 20 or 25 or whatever. So you're going to be able to figure people out pretty quick at this point, which is like when she gave me her little list, okay? So it wasn't like that wide-eyed, goofy, hormonal thing you did when you were a teenager into your early 20s. Okay, you're looking through a different lens going, is this somebody that can stand next to me or me with them and live life together every day, all the time? And are we heading in the same direction? Can we row the boat together? Can we support each other? All those things that are beyond, she's hot, he's cute. I mean, that's where we start. Somebody physically gets our attention. All right? But that doesn't make a marriage or a marriageable person. Okay? I met a lot of really pretty girls, cute girls, whatever, in my life that after talking to them for 3 or 4 minutes realized, no. And some of you met a lot of really good-looking guys, little handsome men, and when you went to those guys and talked to them, you're like, no. Because the looks is not everything. Okay? And so you go through that process. Okay, any questions so far on all of that? Are we good so far? Did that help a little bit? Yeah. Okay. Okay, Ati has her hand up. Because then I want to shift to the parenting with the children because it kind of fits in this dating thing we were talking about. Okay, that mic.
Testing.
There you go.
This is my favorite subject. I love counseling with you about relationships. But I did have a question for the first part, and my question was going to be, with us all being covenanted and everything, and also still living in a modern day era, there's different types of I'm all for like a provider male, but what about when you come across like 50-50, or like what are your thoughts on that subject?
Okay, look, again, I'm not saying that the male has to provide, but to him to be the man you can look up to, for him to be the man that you can feel safe with, he should be able to. You can make more than him. You could be 50-50. You could have a great career. I mean, let's face it, if you're a doctor or a lawyer, you might make a lot of money, and maybe your husband doesn't make as much money as you do. Some of those things that pay a lot of money, that's great. You could be an entrepreneur and have a business that makes you a lot of money. The thing is, for you to feel secure and look up to your man, he needs to be able to provide for you. Does that make any sense? Am I clear for that? He doesn't have to be doing it, because otherwise you will look like the male role. I'm providing, I'm taking care. I've got a lot of stay-at-home dads who take care of things because the wife makes more money, and they have problems, they have challenges because the roles get confused. Even though it's by their choice because she loves her job and makes more money than when he had his job, it's hard, okay? When I started ministry, and at different times when my careers did or did not work well, my wife made more money than me. She was a hygienist and got paid very nicely. It was challenging for our relationship. Now, when I made more than her and she still made her money, the relationship worked a whole lot better because she knew that I was the provider. It's a psychological thing, okay? It's not like a literal bank account thing. It's a psychological thing. You will not respect him as much if he's not able to provide. It may not be conscious. I'm just telling you, you will not respect. Men, you need to know this is the facts. They will not respect you as much if you're not able to take care of them. We were designed to be this is the way it was meant to be, designed to be initially. The men were the provider protectors. The ladies were the nurturers, supporters. Both roles equally important. This isn't like male chauvinism and the ladies shouldn't do whatever. Ladies did plenty. The guys were out with the herds, the ladies were dealing with the crops. I mean, there was stuff to be going on. So it wasn't like anybody was sitting around doing nothing. But they knew the man was taking care of them, providing the safety and the security, etc. Does that make sense still? Are we good? All right? So yes, you could be 50-50. Yes, you could have him make more. You could make more than he. Just understand how emotionally that may affect you. Okay, give it to
I
Mercy.
had another one, sorry. Okay, and then I just wanted you to comment on the whole like self-love and also independence when it comes to
Excellent question.
dating.
Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, let me bring that out. Real important for you, the men and the ladies, but the ladies end up having more of a challenge with this than the men. All right? You cannot submit yourself to someone if you don't feel that you have the value. You can't expect someone to love you and take. You need to, first of all, the self-love thing will take that first. You got to love yourself. You got to feel valued. You got to feel like somebody would want you. You got to get that played through. If you're having a struggle with that, you need to get counsel or therapy, depending on what the level of cause of that feeling of insecurity, lack of self-worth and value. That's something that needs healing. And it needs to be walked through, talked through, and dealt with. Because if you have that, there's a reason you have that. And whatever was the cause of that needs to be fixed and healed and processed. And I'm not necessarily qualified for all of that. Depends when you come to me. I may send you to somebody more who's trained in dealing with that, depending on what the trauma was that caused you to lose that sense of value and worth. The other side of this is some of you ladies have lost the ability to have value and identity in yourself. You find your identity in the man. You find your identity in a relationship. I've had some ladies that were married, the husband died, and they ran off immediately to get married, and then the husband, I said, hold on, you started this when you were like 17. You've never been you. How do you even have a you to give anybody? Okay, so if you're single, be happy and comfortable with you. Figure out who you are as yourself without needing anybody, and then be ready to appreciate when you can have somebody. Okay? But you're going to have to be comfortable in your own skin. All right? Does that answer the question? And that takes time, that takes counsel, that takes going through some personal development things that we don't have time to do here in the few minutes we have left. But you need to be comfortable in being you. Because no man's going to want to marry you if you're not even comfortable being you. Okay? And if you're really not comfortable being you, you know what you're going to do? You're going to present him with somebody that isn't you, that you're putting on a show. Because after all, why would he want me? I have to pretend to be somebody else. Well, you better, listen, the best counsel I can give you, if you ever meet that person that you think might be the one, be 1,000,000% you. Be real. Don't have them look at you like, well, if I'd have known. Well, why didn't you know? Because they didn't bet. You didn't act that way when I was dating you. You didn't act that way when Be you. I was me the whole time. If that was going to cost me her or get me her, whatever, I wasn't going to not be me. Okay? Now, of course, you try to be a little bit better you in the beginning, but just be you. Okay? Don't pretend to be something you're not. Don't dress different than you normally do, but you can dress maybe a little nicer knowing. But don't do things that are really not you. Okay? When I dress a little nicer, it's still me. I mean, there's ways I could dress that are completely not me. Okay? I could come up here in the suit, tie, the whole thing, and that's not me. I could do it, though. I did it for years when I had no choice to do it, when I had jobs that made me do it. But I can still clean up and put on a nice shirt and slacks and shoes and dress up a little bit. That's still in a way that's still me. Okay? So thank you for bringing it up. Okay, Mercy. Okay, you can go first, and then Mercy. And what was your name? Okay, I certainly cannot read your name tag from here. So just speak into the mic. Okay, if the red light's on, it's on, right? There you go.
It's Kearney.
Okay, Kearney?
Yes. So
I think it was cute, though, that you thought I could read your name tag from 35 feet away.
I've gotten used to like showing everyone because it's a weird name. But so I don't seek to like be an authoritative person, but I've had to like be a single mom from the get-go. Like I don't have any co-parenting or any involvement, so I've had to like be both parents. So I don't know how to like practice not being.
Well, it's not so much practicing it from the point of view as just recognizing that there's a mindset you need to start to bring in, and you can listen to programs that are out there, or read books that are out there about how to have the right mindset to be a wife and to understand what that. Be careful with all the Christianized stuff and some of the other things out there, but take everything with a grain of salt, but start to get some senses of what that looks like. And we should have classes and things developing here, hopefully in the future, for the ladies and for the men. We had them in the past where we got all the men together in a room. We started talking about, okay, when Yahweh created a man, not what your culture thought, not what you thought, what did he think that looked like? When he made a woman, not what culture and this and that, what did he have in mind? What did that look like to him, woman, man, okay? And so that's really tough, and we'll try to do more with that. But in the meantime, what you can do, though, is come under a covering, have a man like me to ask questions when you have to make the big decisions that normally you would ask a husband for. I cover a lot of ladies, not in like a wife or something, but where ladies can go and have somebody or somebody on my team where they can say, hey, I've got this big decision that normally I would have a husband to ask, but I don't have one. Or a father to ask, but I don't really have that relationship, or my father's not around. I need somebody to talk to about a decision I'm making. And we won't make it for you, but we can help you with the thought process. And there are a lot of ladies in here that I cover and that they go through that process. And they don't always like what I have to say because I put it back on them and I have to have them look through things. And a lot of times, and you can ask Ati and others, I tell them things that they're like, no, but I want to do this. I said, but that's not what you need to be doing. And we bang back and forth heads and stuff. But then ultimately, it works out when they understand, even if they go and do what they shouldn't, and they come back and go, you were right, okay? I'm not talking about her necessarily. Yes, I am. Okay, so, okay? But this is the case that all relationships have. I help you, you don't trust it, you go do your thing, you realize it, but then it strengthens it when you come back. And you go, you know what, I realized I shouldn't have done that, it was wrong. Not that there's anything bad or anything, but just you go in a direction that you didn't take the counsel, it doesn't work, and then you realize I probably should have listened. All right? And so that's available. Who's next? Mercy?
Thanks, Rabbi. Okay, so how does the color code work into this? Because I know what my colors are, and I know that I'm also a very strong, confident woman. And although I like a man who is in touch with his emotions, I don't want an emotional man. So how does that fit with me being a red and a yellow, or anyone's color combination? How do those color combinations work?
All right, so from a marriage point of view, I would recommend you get the book. All right, because the book, the color code, I don't think they call it that anymore. They call it the people code, because color code sounds racist. Okay? I don't know why they changed the name. That's my only guess. But I think you call it the people code now. But you just look for the same author, the same guy who wrote the book. But anyway, it talks about marriage mostly, the two colors that, like, so if you're red, what's red with red? What's red with blue? Red with white? Red with yellow? Okay? And how that works in a marriage. My wife and I got the book when we first did the thing, about 20 years of the color code thing. And I'm red, she's blue. And we were not excited to read that that's the hardest combination. And it's called, Blood, Sweat, and Tears is the subtitle. Both red and blue, fighting for authority, and all that kind of stuff. All right, so, if you're a woman and you're already a strong red, you're going to need a strong guy, okay? Because otherwise you're going to run him over, all right? And if he's going to have all kinds of blue outs, you're not going to want that. That is just going to, no, okay? So you're going to have to find a red guy that can balance with you, okay? Or is red something, at least that he has enough. Because so these are all things that the personality thing was about, learning about yourself, and then you realize what you're going to need in somebody else personality-wise. So all of you are going to go around handing out potential mates color code tests. I'm not kidding. If you counsel with me, you're going to do 3 things when you find that guy or that woman you think you're going to be with. You're going to do the color code, you're going to do the 5 love languages, and you're going to do the expectations exercise. Everybody I counsel with. And that's all designed so that you can get to know each other in some strong way. All right? So you really know what you're getting into. All right? Because I got a bunch of really strong blue women married to very white men, and they're all miserable. He won't do anything, and she's all controlling everything. And he's like, but she won't leave me alone. And But I look at your personalities. You married him, the woman, because he was quiet and he didn't ever fight with you and everything else. And now you wonder, though, but he's not all motivated and driven like you are. There's a balance to these things. Every color has positives and negatives. Okay? If you get yourself a red man, he's going to have issues you're not happy with. But it might be necessary to balance you out. My wife is the best. I love my wife, but as blue as she is, nobody but an ultra red could handle that. I'm telling you, she'd run over everybody as a blue, okay? As a strong blue, needing it to be this way and everything's, some of you strong blues know. And she gets frustrated with me sometimes. I'm saying, but that's what Yahweh knew you needed. Okay? You won't ever let go of control unless there was a red enough there to say, let it go. Stop. Because otherwise you would just maintain control. And blue is the most controlling color. And so it's hard for you to let it go. Now you think, blues, that the reds are the most controlling. That's only because we don't let you control it. So we're controlling when we tell you no. No, actually it's you not liking that you can't control it. All right? And that's kind of where that all plays through. All right, we got a few minutes left here. Was there a question on this side? No. We got a question online. I was going to get to the teenagers and stuff, but we might have to do that the next time.
From Samuel, says, what if one is already in a dating relationship with someone that is not in the body at the moment?
Okay, you should counsel, and I'm telling you up front, and I've seen this happen with a lot of people, and they don't like what I have to say. Being married, one in, one out, bad news. The best that can happen with it. And that's, everybody likes to assume, well, the other one will just come in. That doesn't always happen. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even often happen, okay? The best that can happen is the one will tolerate the other. And that's what you got, a tolerant marriage for the next 50 years, okay? You won't ever have the joy of coming to the feast together, Shabbat together, and, Friday night, and it's Shabbat, and we're excited, and the other one still wants you to make them some bacon and eggs. And I mean pork bacon, okay? But I'm already dating the person. Counsel about it. I'm not trying to end your relationships. I'm trying to save you a divorce or a miserable marriage. This really all depends on how serious you are about the walk. This is not a cultish control issue. This is history, wisdom, and experience telling you this is likely not to go well. Wait till you have children and you don't want them going to church, and you don't want them doing Christmas and Easter, and you don't want mom or dad, whichever one of you is the one that's not in, bringing these things into the house. Oh, it's all well and good when you're living separately and you're just dating. But when all this other stuff comes into it, I'd love to have you talk to all of the people in here that are married and they're the only one in and their spouse isn't, and have them tell you how much fun that is. Not that they're ready for a divorce, but it's a level of frustration that will never go away. A level of joy they will never have, because you can only have it when you're echad. And they know it. No matter how much they still love their spouse and all those things, there's still a level they can't get to by themselves. Okay? Their spouse will never sit here next to them at a feast celebrating like they're celebrating. They may come and tolerate, roll their eyes or whatever. I mean, who knows? Okay? I met one lady. Her husband said, I'm a supportive husband. He's not in. He's maybe listening over there. That is a marriage that was already married when the one started coming. That's something that is what it is. And we pray that that will work out and at least be tolerant. And I said, hey, listen, be happy you have it starting off that way. All right? Because I have a few of those in the ministry where the husband or the wife that's not in is totally tolerant of it and respectful up to whatever degree, but they never do things together in that way because the other person doesn't walk this walk. Okay? And win the lottery before you think you're going to convince whoever you're dating that they need to come into this and that's going to, it's just not, it doesn't work. Not often. Maybe you've got the unicorn, I don't know. Okay? But you can counsel about it. But see, your problem is you're dating already, and now you came into this walk. Now what are you going to do? Does the person you're dating absolutely fully understand? Have you been honest enough to explain to them what this is going to look like when you get married? Okay? 2 things you need to know. If you are the man, and we've talked about this many times, and maybe it needs to be said here. If you are the man, that tree is not coming in your house. It's your house. Those Easter eggs are not coming in your house. Bacon is not coming in your house. You're the man. It's my house. In my house, we do these things. If you're the wife, and you're the one that's Torah observant, committed, and covenanted, and the husband isn't, you're kind of stuck. It's his house. He wants to bring a tree in. It's too bad. I mean, you could get divorced, and then it's not too bad. And you could threaten that, and maybe he won't do it. But it's his house. That is the vertical structure. So whoever this was that wrote that, if it's the man, are you ready to make sure she understands that it's your house? Or are you going to let her do whatever she wants? How are you going to raise those kids? What authority level are you going to have? If you're the woman, are you prepared to let him lead in that house and bring whatever he wants in that house? Or you're thinking, well, I'm already the dominant one. I already control him. Who cares? That's already a bad situation. Female dominant does not work well. Okay? Even though society has shifted in that direction, that does not work well. I don't want to sound like a chauvinist or any other things. That's not the way he designed it. You know it doesn't work right. I'm not saying it can't work. It doesn't work right. It doesn't work well. It goes against the design and the structure he put in place. You can't be driving from the second seat or the back seat. But he's not driving. well, then we need to fix him. Send him to me. I've got 2 boots. They both work very well. Listen, I've had guys walk in the office and ask him, you want the left or the right? Time to man up. Amen? Amen. All right, we got a few more seconds here, or minutes here. Let me just cover something really important for the rest of this whole thing with the dating and all this other stuff. And I don't know that I got a lot of parents in here. How many of you have teenage children in here? I got some. Okay, so we'll cover this a little bit. After all, we don't have anything scheduled after this, so we can go a few minutes into the dinner time. All right? It's important for you to understand that dating, for you adults too, dating is not, even though it has become, is not a social activity. Okay? We are raised to come into, I couldn't wait to be a high school age kid and start dating, because dating is what socially people do. Dating is not designed for social. It's not a social thing, unless you happen to like drama and trauma. Okay? Because that's what dating does. Social dating. Social dating only leads to drama, trauma, and sexually transmitted diseases and unwanted pregnancies. Okay? And emotional scarring. And developing a hatred for the opposite sex at some point. It's a disaster. I wish someone had told me that when I was a teenager. So you have teenagers. And all you parents out there, you need to know that if you don't already know, your children are dating and you don't know. They're not telling you. If you do know, well, then you know. But all of those teenagers out there have the drama and trauma going because I hear everything. Okay? And I know I have a lot of parents out there going, not my child. You have no idea the texting they're doing and who they're doing it with and how many times they broke up and were dating and broke up and were dating and everything. I hear everything. Okay? They're doing all this stuff. Do you have access to their phones? I could take any one of my children's phones, open it up at any point. I have the code. They're not allowed to have it in a condition that I can't open it. And if I want to, I can look at all of whatever's on there. And I don't do it very often, but they know I can. And if I can't, I say, you need to fix that right now. Because they'll change the thing and forget to tell me to change. Give me the password. And if they don't want to, they don't have to have a phone. But do you know what your children are doing? Because you go to sleep, they're up at night, they're on their phones. And they're texting whoever they're texting, and they're flirting with the guys, or they're flirting with the girls, and who knows what else they're doing. You need to know what your children are doing. Because they are doing. And not my children. Now, what I want to encourage you, though, as a parent, is that you need to get the relationship. And by the way, this goes for you adults, too. You need an adult like myself or somebody that you can go to with what I'm about to describe with the children. You still need that. And what that is this. The children, when they're little, they need controlled guidance. Stop. Don't. Come here. Go over there. Put that away. Don't touch that. Okay? Now, when they get older, they will make faces behind your back, ignore you, and everything else that teenagers do. And there's a reason for that. It's because they are trying to establish and walk into an independence of adulthood. And the only way they can figure to do that, the way you're treating them, because you're treating them like they're still a little kid, is to ignore you and assert their independence. Or to go against you to assert their independence. Rather, what you should do, gradually from the time they get to be about 12, 13, is to be transferring that whole do, don't do, whatever into, I would like to always be, because I went up to my children and told them it is vital that you and I are tight, closer than close, always in your life, so that you can always come to me about anything and know that I'll be there. Trusted counselor. You need never be afraid to tell me anything. Please test me on that. Now, it doesn't mean they don't ever get in trouble. There should be no fear of me flipping out and wrecking the relationship where they would trust me, that it's safe to come to me. Because some of the big things that they could go wrong with, they're going to need me, not me beating on them. They're going to need me to help them fix it and work through it, whatever's going on. Hopefully there won't be too many of those things, but that can happen with children. And so I believe with my children, I know just about, not everything that they're doing. Why? Because they tell me things they would never tell me otherwise. Not hugely embarrassing things, but just things I know teenagers would never come and talk about. Because I've earned their trust. And we have these conversations on a regular basis. Hey, what's going on and what's with this? And it's almost like Catholic confession. They just start spewing everything to me. They'll even come back later and say, I forgot something. And spew some more. Okay? But I've earned that trust by listening to a whole lot of stuff that I really would not have wanted to hear. Okay? Because some of it's hard to hear. And not because my kids are bad kids, they're just kids. And hearing about their loves and their likes and their dislikes and their experiences and their traumas and their dramas is hard to hear. Okay? And I sit, as ADD as I am, as red as I am, and I listen to them. Okay? And I listen, sometimes it's for hours. I will sit there if necessary. Because I want them to know I mean what I say. There's nothing more important to me, other than him and my wife, right, than making sure that I am there for you and you are trusting that I will always be your hero to take care of you, to guide you whenever you need. Okay? And they come to me about everything. Okay? And that's because they know it's safe. Okay, we have had issues in the past with children, suicidal, cuttings, drinking things that could kill them, whatever, and parents had no idea. And then when the parents found out, they were ready to kill the kid. And I said, no, you need to figure out why they were afraid to tell you. How this ended up this way is because of you, not them. You have not created a safe place where they would come to you. What? Yeah. Oh, and these are people that when I first told them said, oh, no, not my kid. You're wrong. I know my kid. I said, no, you don't. They're like, well, how do you know? Because they told me. They came to me and told me what they were dealing with. I didn't hear from somebody else. Your kid told me. So don't tell me I don't know. But why don't you know? Because you haven't made a safe environment for them. And some of you are thinking, oh, you're so naive, Rabbi. I've worked at this. No, you have no idea what I've done to get where I am with my children. Okay? You just haven't worked at it hard enough. You just expect you're the father, you're the mother, they're just going to do these things. No, they're not. There's nothing more insecure, more secretive than a teenager. They are paranoidly afraid to let an adult know what they're doing. Unless you convince them it's safe. Now, that doesn't mean my children haven't said things that I said, that's not acceptable, and there will be a punishment or whatever for that. In balance, reasonable, not me freaking out, lashing out in an angry, embarrassed, frustrated way. Okay? I mean, in a counseling position, I'll talk about this right up here. I have a son who was not behaving appropriately in the classes recently. Okay? It was brought to my attention. I could have been the father that went and smacked him and said, I'm the rabbi and you're embarrassing me and blah, blah. No, you know what I did? I went over and I called him over and I said, I reminded him, remember we have this thing where you and I are buddies and we have a close relationship? I said, I need you to know that when you're here, what you do affects how we look together and how you represent me. And I appealed to him, and you know what? He changed completely around, and I heard the next day how good he was because he cared about hurting our relationship, not me just smacking him because he was being a wise guy goofball in the class and disrupting it. And I could have come down on him the other way. I wanted to. That was the normal gut reaction, right? But instead, I appealed to the level of relationship that I've worked on. And I said to him, this relationship, I said, do you want to hurt that relationship by embarrassing me? He said, no, I'm sorry. And he went and fixed it. Okay? But that only happened because I've been working for years to get to that. All right? Because he's not at an age, what am I going to do? Just take away his phone is all I could do. There's nothing else I could do to it. What do you do to a 17-year-old? Take away his phone. There's nothing else to do. I can't smack him. I can't punish him, put him in timeout. What am I going to do to him? All I can do is appeal to a relationship. That's what I've earned since he was much younger. Is it making sense to anybody? Okay, you have to do this. Now, by the same token, all of you singles need somebody who you as a trusted counselor who you can talk to and share your embarrassing stuff that you don't know if it was good or bad or whatever, to get someone to say, hey, you shouldn't have been doing that. And it's okay to get that because you trust the counselor to know that it's safe to share your stuff and get advice from. I want to know that my children, when they're 15, 18, 20, 30, will still be comfortable to come to me and say, hey, Dad, I've got a question. Or where I can offer counsel knowing they may or may not use it, but they're going to hear it and receive it and think about it because they know it's coming from a right relationship I have with them. And so I know they'll come to me. And they do. They'll come to me and say, I wasn't sure how to handle this. I'm not sure if I handled it right. I want to share it with you. Is that okay? Of course. Come, talk. Okay? And so this is something that's really, it takes a lot of effort. If you're very blue, it'll be brutally hard to do. Because you've got such a right-wrong, barometer in your head that when you hear something's going wrong, you're going to be like, You're not going to want to hear what you're going to hear. But it's hard, but you got to do it. So now let's talk about, I know it's already 6:30, I think I can cover this real quickly. With your teenagers, so here's the quandary that I have. This dating thing. Because remember, I told you, dating is not social. You adults should know, if you're going to go out on dates, that date is there to figure out, is this the one for me? Okay? It's not just because it's going to go out for a good time. Okay? Now, you'd like to go out and have a good time, so you go out and you enjoy dinner together or some other activity you do together. Try to do stuff together where you can talk and get to know them, see them in different environments, and get a sense of who they are and how they behave in different, numbers of people, sometimes by yourself, sometimes with other people. But the main thing's keep it non-physical with each other. All right? That's your danger, Will Robinson, okay? Danger, right? Because that's where you're going to trip over the finish line before you get there. Don't open that door. Well, it doesn't say anywhere in the Bible about kissing. Well, because the problem is you can't just kiss and eventually not end up in the bed. Oh, yes, I can. Liar, pants on fire. No, you can't. Okay? Stop lying to yourself. Well, it's just a kiss hello or a kiss goodbye until that kiss lasts 3 minutes and the hands start all going and the body start all doing. Next thing you know, you're doing stuff beyond kissing. Who are we kidding? You're all adults. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, no, I'm mature and disciplined. Liar, pants on fire. You can't do it. You cannot do it. All right? Save that for after the chuppah and the wedding and the I do's. Okay? Because until then, you don't. I spend most of every counsel session with somebody who's dating for marriage. Every session at some point I'm telling them, and don't mess this up, and don't mess this up, and don't mess it. You're almost there. It looks like it's going great. Don't mess this up. Keep your hands to yourself and your lips to yourself and every other body part, and don't mess this up. Okay? I am married. I was single. I dated. I did a whole bunch of stuff like all of you did when you dated. You can't stop. You think you can. No, you can't. Not if the other person wants it too. Okay? I'm not saying the first kiss leads to that. But if you kiss, then next thing you're going to be doing it on a regular enough basis because you get comfortable. Next thing you know, it goes to more. Tell me I'm wrong. Go ahead. You know I'm right. You know there's no saying I'm wrong there. Okay? So, I know we're already after. I'm going to keep going. Is that okay? All right. Look, here's the quandary. And I'm finding it myself now because I have teenagers. Didn't understand what this quandary might look like when they were 12 and when they were 8. But now I got a 16 and a 17. And I'm also dealing with other teenagers. They are hormonal. They're noticing each other. They're starting to find ones that they like or don't like. So how do we handle this? And I think that somehow we have to allow for them to socially interact. We won't call it dating, but socially interact so they can actually get to know each other, because if you don't interact enough, you really don't know if there's things the other person has about them that you really don't like. How are you going to figure that out if you don't spend time together? All right? Because I have both my children, and they may find somebody, and they want to spend time together. How do I keep that safe, meaning nobody's going to trip over the physical line? I also want to keep it safe a little bit on the emotional line too, because when you start giving your emotional heart to somebody and then they don't actually end up marrying you someday in the future, you get crushed. All right? I don't know about you, but my heart got stepped on at least a few dozen times before I ever met my wife, okay? And so, because nobody told me about that. And so, with my children, especially with my daughter, one of the advantages I have is that when they were very little, I taught them, I had them say this and repeat after me. I would say, okay. I had Stephen first. I said to Stephen, what's your job? He said, keep my sister safe. I trained him that when he was 5, okay? He doesn't actually still necessarily focus on that yet, but it's in his head. I've programmed it in there. And then I asked them both, I said, and what's daddy's job? Keep us safe, all right? Keep everybody safe. And so when we came to this social dating thing that was going on as the teenage children were going, I explained to my daughter, I said, look, I'm giving you these instructions because my job is to keep you safe, physically and emotionally. And I wish somebody had said this stuff to me when I was 15 or 16 or 17. But I didn't have anybody to do that. My parents didn't care. They just let the kids do what they did, just like all the parents did at that time in the sort of the worldly sense, They almost encouraged it too. Oh yeah, you should go out there, get a girlfriend, get a boyfriend, whatever. That's what parents told their kids. All right? So, and they almost thought it was funny. Say, oh, I thought you were dating so-and-so. Oh no, that was last week. The parents thought that was funny. It wasn't funny for you, as you were going through the trauma of all that roller coaster stuff. But I'd like to, at some point, talk more with the parents when we can get them all together with their teenage kids to talk about how can we create a protocol process so the children can get to know, the girls know the boys know the girls, so they can kind of get a sense of what they like or don't like in that other person in a safe way with minimal drama, physical safety, because how else are they going to get there? And I wouldn't mind them finding somebody and getting married in their 18 to 22 range instead of having to wait till 35 like I did. But I'd also like to help the guys learn that you need to start thinking about a job and a career and things so that you can be able to get married at that age. All right? Because I certainly would have liked to have been married at that age and not had to wait so long. But nobody was there to train me. I'd like to be able to help train them. Okay? Because I know a lot of people are watching. They see, well, my children, they'll be watching. They might notice that my son or daughter seems to be spending a lot of time with somebody. And then they wonder, what are they doing? What's appropriate? What's Rabbi allowing? Because you may have a child the same age and go, I wonder then if my kid can do that or not, or if that's right to do. Well, I think maybe we should talk about it. Okay? Because I'd like, for example, my daughter, if she likes somebody, to be able to spend time with that person. Some of it sort of one-on-one with me or somebody else nearby to make sure it's still safe, but where they have enough time to talk without anybody else listening to get to know each other. I'd also like to do them in a group of 5 or 8 people so they can see each other interacting and how they act around other people. Because I've been with some people that I was like, I thought I might want to date her, and then I saw the way she acted around other people. I said, nope. Or I got one-on-one and got to see how she behaved. I said, no. You got to have time to get to know what you like and what you don't like and what you prefer and what you don't prefer. The only way you're going to do that is by experiencing it a little bit. So how do you have them experience something that you don't want to let them experience? Isn't that kind of the quandary? Well, I don't want them to date. They're teenagers. Okay? But I want them to get to know. Besides, with you all, how many of you snuck out behind your parents' back and dated somebody for a few minutes or did something like that? Nobody? Everybody? Okay? No hands wanting to go up. You're embarrassed. All of you just about. You know your children are going to do the same thing if you lock them down hard. They are. I had a couple come to me. If you are that couple and you're hearing this on live, everything else, I've never told anybody who you are, so don't worry about it, okay? I had a couple come to me, actually this happened more than once, telling me, my daughter sneaks out all the time. We've locked her down and she still gets out and everything else. You know what I said? And they're afraid that she's ending up somewhere and they don't know where she is, because she'll say, I'm going to Susan's house, and she'll end up going to Michael's house or whatever, right? Because she doesn't want the parents to know what's going on. I said, why don't we try this the other way around? This is the advisor relationship thing. I said, let's live in reality. You may have a child like this, so let me help you. In reality, can you stop her? No. So why are you trying? Why don't you say, look, what I need to do is know you're safe. If you are going to go, I need to know where and when you're coming back and who you're with, but I'm not going to stop you because I can't stop you. I've tried. You're 17, you're 18, you're still sneaking out. I can't stop you, but I need you to not lie to me so I can know that you're safe. Do you know that that whole situation turned around when that relationship of respect developed? Whole thing turned around. First of all, the parents got mad at me and thought I was nuts. I said, how am I nuts? You already know you can't stop her. So what else is there to do? Well, I don't want to be endorsing it. You're not endorsing it. You're recognizing the reality that you can't stop it. But you want to know, is she safe? Or at least where she is. Because if she doesn't come home, at least you know where to start looking. Right? And so develop that kind of relationship with your children. So the more you can allow it but control it, the more safe it is. And we need to figure out how to get there. Billy? Okay, I'm sorry. Anybody who has not picked up your children, we're just talking about it. At the farm, at the other property, there are several there. You need to go get your children. Okay, there they are making the walk of shame out the back of the... We don't have you on camera. It's okay. Okay? All of you selfish parents that were in here listening to stuff for yourselves, go get your children that you abandoned at the farm. Okay. They're all like, Rabbi, it's your fault. You went past 6:30. Sorry. All right? So I don't have a total solution to this yet, but that solution has to be in the form of 16, 17-year-old children have to have some way to socially interact with the opposite sex, to get to understand how to deal with their hormones and deal with what their likes and dislikes are, because they're going to do it behind your back anyway. But how can we give them an outlet for it? Am I making any sense? All right? How do we give an outlet for it in a controlled manner that keeps it safe? That's the problem. Because I'm telling you, you're not... Now, my children would have a hard time, at least before I got sick. They would have had a hard time sneaking out on me because I stay up later than everybody. So if they're waiting for me to go to bed, that wasn't happening. They were going to pass out before I ever went to bed. Okay? Because I didn't have a problem sneaking out of my parents' house because they went to bed early enough and I just got up and left. Okay? So if you think you know what your children are doing all the time, you probably don't. And you can't stop them. Just like nobody could stop you. Okay? But maybe if you gave them a controlled way to do it, you wouldn't have to worry about it. And if you made that deal predicated on, I never catch you doing anything else behind my back. If I do, I'm not going to let you do the control thing because there's no point. But if you can behave and I can trust you, we can do this controlled thing where I allow you to spend time with the boy or with the girl and it's controlled in an environment where it's safe, etc. All right? And then, okay, so like if we're out and my daughter and or my son was there and a girl in the congregation was there that they might have interest in spending time with, and I sat them at a different table while we're all there so they could talk a little bit, that would be one of those type of ideas. They have their own privacy, but they're not out by themselves where they can get in any kind of trouble. They're right where I can see them, but they're also outside of hearing range and they can have their own little talks. You see what I'm talking about? Okay, we can allow some of that. We can allow certain interactions and certain levels as long as it's controlled. But they also know you cross the line, it all goes away. There's harsh punishments for crossing the line. If I can't trust you, we can't do this. You want me to let you do this? I'm trying to help you do this? Then you can't cross the lines. Does it make sense? We good? Any questions about that? No. Good. My daughter and my son were very excited that I was going to talk about this because they want to know when we can make something as an official policy. And I think we should have that as a kind of thing. I don't think we should. You can't stop them, okay? You were a teenager. I was very interested in girls as a teenager. You were very interested in the opposite sex when you were a teenager, okay? Let's not kid ourselves. Okay, if you're a girl, you had guys or multiple guys. You had guys you liked and had your eye on when you were a teenager. And if you're a guy, you had girls you had your eyes on when you were a teenager. And you tried to spend time and you wanted to date them and everything else. That we can't stop. That's normal. We can maybe control it a little bit to keep it safe. Okay, Shaquez?
I'm just wondering, with the teenagers, would it almost be like a chaperone courting?
Well, yeah, it would be along those lines. Okay, first of all, I'd like them to only go out in groups and stay together in a group with chaperones to make sure that they actually don't pair off and disappear. And by the way, a lot of you with teenagers, if you don't know where they are during the feast, they might not be where you think they are. We've been on other properties, I don't know about here on this property, where teenagers have been off making out and other things and sneaking off and they'll find that corner where they can get by themselves. So don't think you know where your teenagers are unless you know where your teenagers are. All right? That's why you must have the relationship where they'll tell you everything. Because you can't really know where they are all the time. Okay? You can't. But you need to try and make that effort. And that's important. So yes, I don't mind them going out as a group and then they're having fun. Of course, they are spending time with each other inside of the group, but it's safer. It's less likely for physical things to not get out of control. Okay? What I don't want is making out. I don't want them kissing. I don't want them hugging and fondling or whatever else they might be doing. I want them talking and getting to know each other and having a good time and getting to learn, I like this person, I don't like it. Oh, wait a minute, that thing that they do is really going to irritate me. It's probably not who I want to spend the rest of my life with, okay? Whatever that is. They're only going to get that by spending time together. And who knows, maybe they will go forward in life and they'll find somebody. Look, we all know that our children are going to have the same challenge you have at some point, which is this is a very small pond to fish in. Okay? That doesn't mean Yahweh can't provide everyone with somebody. But if they meet somebody earlier than later, should we be not happy with that? But we want to keep it safe. All right, so my 16-year-old meets somebody at 16, but she's not getting married till she's 19 or 20. Or whatever it is, and she knows that, but I have to keep them safe through interacting with each other for 3 years. Good luck with that, right? It's hard. But if I create a way for them to have their cake and not eat it, if you know what I'm saying, so they can actually spend time together but not mess anything up, okay? Then maybe that could work. And some of you have teenage daughters and teenage sons, you understand what I'm saying? There should be a way to allow what you can't stop anyway, but control it so it stays safe. And you talk to the children so they understand, that's my only concern. It's not just, you're too young. Too young for what? Interact with a boy or interact with a girl? No. They're too young for sex, they're too young for marriage. Okay, so let's make sure those two things don't happen yet. How do we do that? We control their interaction, and they know, I'm allowing, but it's controlled. And if you don't allow the control, then I'm not doing the allowing either. Okay? And there's that balance. Any questions with that? Craig, you got a question? I don't know why you would. You only have like 3 teenage girls.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something. And they're all so close. When they're 16 and 17, the hardest thing to do is wait. But they're so close to reaching that mark, and being above reproach is the one thing that I always try to encourage them, and that they're listening and obeying our guidance will allow us all to participate in their wedding ceremony, and just to be above reproach. It's such a hard thing at that age, and they so don't want it, but it's something that my wife and I talk about all the time, how we would love nothing more to be able to really stand up and give our testimony. But it is a testimony it's not above reproach. And that makes it it's hard. And I really want to encourage the teenagers. They're all such good kids, and it's just time and just the wait, and nothing that you do now or nothing that your parents do can stop what Yah has got in store for them as far as their spouse goes too. We don't want them to make mistakes, but if they do and they're punished, that's not the end of the story. It's not the end of it. If it is,
Right.
If they found who they're supposed to be with, it'll happen. And just to be above reproach, like you said, safety, we just want them to make it, and make it with unstained garments.
Amen. Exactly. So to kind of take what Craig said and just kind of continue in that same line of thought, I would have liked to have had another 20 years with my wife and had met her at 15. Okay? But I didn't meet her till 35. I mean, I can only imagine how wonderful it'd be. Craig and his wife met when they were very young. Okay? Now, there's a lot of other, ups and downs of the story, but they met very young. All right? And that's great. I mean, I would have loved to have had those extra 15, 20 years with my wife if we had met when we were teenagers. Okay? If she had been 15 and I had been 17. Okay? Or something, because we're 2 years apart. All right? That would have been awesome, but would anybody have been there to keep us from tripping over the beyond reproach part? To keep us out of sexual interaction and other things that could have really messed things up? See, we want to make sure that we are able to provide an opportunity for that potential to be there. Also, you know what? If they start to interact with each other, you know what? Let's put it this way. If you've never seen a house, and I show you one house, and you've never seen a house, you've only been in an apartment, you've never even been in a house, I show you one house, and you say, wow, it's big, and look at all. There may be a lot of things about it you don't really like, but you don't even know because you've never seen a second house. So I also want the children to know, don't just get all flipped out about the first person you ever see either. But how do they have anything to compare to unless they interact with the opposite sex? You have to interact with them. If you never talk to another boy and you're a girl, you never talk to another guy, you only talk to one guy, and he's nice to you, what do you know? I'm not saying that doesn't mean that's the wrong one, but you need to be able to interact with enough people on some sort of level to have a sense of what's out there, okay? And so, I used to be a realtor. When I was a realtor, I said, we'd take somebody to a house, and they said, well, I didn't really like the kitchen. I said, that's good. What do you mean that's good? I said, we're learning what you don't like, which is just as good as learning what you do like. So that way, when we find the right one, it'll have very few of the don't likes and all of the most of the do likes, right? So I'd like that now it's in a dating thing. Now we've got all the trauma and drama. I dated this guy, it didn't work out, so I'm going to date this guy, and then, no. I'd like you to interact with each other, and you'll get almost all the same information without the drama and trauma. Okay? Getting to know each other and seeing different personalities and seeing different qualities of character and all that kind of stuff. So my goal is to come up with some way that we can kind of, as a guidance, as parameters and recommendations for teenagers and the social interaction process, okay? And the main goal of it being to somehow allow it to happen in a controlled, safe way. Because up to now, most people say, you're not dating until you're 18, you're not dating until you're 20, but we don't want them dating. The dating is when they're ready to almost get married and they want to see if that's the process, the vetting process. We don't want them social dating. And so let's help them at this age do what they're already going to do anyway. Let them interact with each other in a safe, controlled way. Amen? Amen. Anybody else need to say anything before we close? Okay, bring it to Craig.
As a father and a husband, I would also like to say that, and I'm sure with your daughter, that you felt this way, that I get discouraged, especially when there are young men in the body that are interested in my daughters and have not said a word to me, not a hello. If you're a young man and you're interested in a daughter that has a father here, I would highly encourage you to start liking the things that he likes. Tag along as much as possible with their father and become their friend, and that'll go such a long way.
Okay, let me kind of preemptively strike on there to just say, look, a lot of the young men are not going to be doing these things because they're afraid. They don't know. See, if we make a program that's clear so they don't have fear of you, the father of the young lady, then they can be comfortable to approach and say, by the way, I like your daughter. I want to do this right. How can I do this right so that you feel respected and you feel your daughter's safe? That's the way to go about it, okay? And then we have to get to that place, all right? Most of you are aware there's a young man who likes my daughter, and she likes him too. That's fine. We've talked. The parents have talked. We're controlling the whole situation, and we keep that in a way and they know. And the young man, he's more afraid to get me upset than she is almost, and she really respects her dad. But he wants to make sure that if he knows if he has interest, he has to do this right, okay? And so so we have communication. So just like Craig's talking about, okay? I still scare the whatever out of him, but that's good. All right? But then again, I scare most people, so it's okay. But you understand what Craig is trying to say, though, is that's not going to happen if you have not created an environment where it's welcoming to the young man to come and say hello to you and express that interest, because you're forcing them to do it behind your back. You're forcing them because you've created that fear and lockdown, so they have to do it behind your back. But if you can create a way that they can do it openly with your guidance and your consent, because it's controlled, then you've created a situation like Craig's talking about and I'm talking about. All right? Did you want to say something? Janet? Who also has a teenage daughter or two?
I do, and one that will eventually be a teenager. So I have two things. Purity in the world that we live in, right? How do we promote that and bring it up in discussions? And the second piece is, I know in the past, if you look Fiddler on the Roof, you have a matchmaker. Obviously, we want to, as parents, we want to be given the opportunity and be in the process of selecting, I guess, or filtering out people. So how do you how do you integrate all that? Just some thoughts about it. Thank you.
All right. Okay, first of all, let's deal with the world part, okay? If we're providing them with what think about what they go into the world for. It's not for the things of the world necessarily. It's because it's a social thing, or it's something that they think the world would give them. And if we can give them that safely here, they won't go there. If we give them a safe way to do the social interaction, the safe way for the boys and the girls to interact, then they won't have to go out there. Okay? They only go out there because it's not here and they want what they're not getting here. But if we can give it to them here in a safe way, they don't look for it out there. Number one. Number two, the thing about matchmaking or approving, knock it off. You can't do it. They won't like it. They'll resent it. They have to pick who they have to pick. You do not have to approve or like them, but if you don't approve, you have to have a good reason, and you should be able to, because if you're in that counseling role I talked about with that child, that advisor role, you should be able to say, listen, I'm not comfortable with this choice. I just want you to hear why. I still respect that it's your choice, but this is what but you don't sit there going, no, because it's just going to force them to go and do it anyway without your consent anyway. There's no value in just, you can't date that person. Okay? Because then they're going to want to do that more than ever. I've seen this over and over. All right? And so recognize that just like maybe who you picked your parents might not have liked, anybody have parents that didn't approve of your choice? Or the other person's parents didn't approve of, that's what happens. Or did you have children you didn't approve of their choice? Okay? It's still not your choice if it's not your marriage, okay? You pick your own spouse, that's it. Now, encourage them, ask them questions. Look, I do this when I counsel them for marriage. Do you really know them? Do you know all the things that drive you crazy about them, that annoy you and irritate you? Are you okay with all of that? And I want to make sure they know. I never want them coming to me and saying, well, Rabbi, if I'd have known she blah, 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 or he blah, blah, blah. I don't ever want to hear that. You should know and be okay with it. Because you should know. That's the dating process where you get to know. And you need to be yourself And the other person needs to see you exactly as you are. And you need to know that I can live with that for the next whatever number of years, for the rest of my life. That's what that process is about, okay? But as far as, we don't have any yentas here. We're not going to match make, okay? I know that we've had people that have wanted us to do that. In the Orthodox, it's called a shidduch. Oh, that sounds like a nasty word. But it's a person who puts people together. And I've had people say to me, why can't you guys do that and just match me up? I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. Abba's going to put you together with the right person. You're going to find them when you're ready and the timing's right, and that's it, okay? And you have to accept that reality. And you're not necessarily going to see it coming. My wife, when I met her, had already given up on dating, given up on getting married, was ready to adopt a child and be single. And then Yahweh said, I've got a different plan, and messed her all up and had me show up, okay? She literally had just decided, I don't need anybody. I'm going to adopt a child. I'm going to be a single mom. I'm going to be happy, and that's it. And then I showed up and messed the whole deal up. Actually, I fixed the problem. She needed, and I needed. She needed me, and I needed her. Okay? And so he brought that together. And by the way, don't think for a second that everything's just going to be wonderful and joy when you get married. That person should be what you need, not necessarily only what you want. And you might need somebody that irritates certain parts of you to get you to realize you need to fix a few things. I don't mean the one that goes up to you and says to you, you need to fix a few things, but I'm just saying things that'll come up and you realize, wow, I didn't realize I had an anger problem or this problem or an intolerance problem or a whiny problem or an insecurity or whatever it was will now come up because of the relationship. And that may be very helpful for you to finally deal with that stuff. And that's when you come to me and I help you see that's what's going on. Not that you guys are really having a marriage problem, but stuff finally came out that couldn't come out any other way. It only could come out in a marriage being that intimate and that close and living together that much that you could finally bring that out. Nobody else would ever be able to bring that out. So good. Deal with it and move on, right? And that's what we do. Amen? All right. Anything else? All right. We got an extra half hour out of that. I hope that was good. I'm going to pray. Bring the camera back. Okay, I'm going to pray. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father and King. Father, I want to ask a special blessing upon the singles of patience. No, I want to ask a special blessing on the singles and on the parents with their teenage children, that we all have the patience, the fruit of the Spirit, and the wisdom to understand how you are working in our lives for the right timing. That, Father, that we can stay safe along the journey. If we're the parents with our teenagers, that we can help them to desire, to trust us in keeping them safe. If we're single, that we can stay safe while we're growing to be ready for marriage. Father, this takes a lot of emunah. We have to trust and bitachon, to trust you and to have faith and belief that you are causing or allowing all things, and that whatever state we're in, that's okay right now for what you're doing with us. That's where we need to be. And so, Father, our desire to be married is a good desire. You teach us this in the Word, that it's a good desire. It's also okay to be single, but it's a good desire. And that, Father, let us work on, help us, show us what we need to do to be ready for that person you have ready for us, so that we can be a blessing to them, so we can bring joy to them, so we can bring all kinds of wonderful things to them, and not just only thinking about all the wonderful things they might bring to us. Father, we trust you. We appreciate where we are. We ask you for that shalom and peace as we come to you now in the name above all names, Yeshua our Messiah. And together we say, Amen. 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 All right, shalom, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's Wednesday. We won't see you tomorrow. We'll see you Thursday morning or tomorrow night in here for the movie. Enjoy your free day. Okay, I need a volunteer for janitorial tonight. Come see George. Okay, one more janitorial person for tonight. Come see George. Don't trample each other on the way. All 0 of you that are running up here.